And here I am standing up to one racist. There's nothing for me to regret or take back.
Now at 11, how does one Bay Area city restore trust with its police? Its officers were accused of going on racist and hateful rants in text messages. The target of those texts, the city's own mayor, what he says should happen next.
From KPIX, this is the Late News with Sarah Donchi on CBS News Bay Area.
Hello, I'm Sarah Donchi. An investigation that revealed years of racist and homophobic text messages has thrown the Antioch Police Department into a serious crisis. Now, the mayor, who was an alleged target of some of those texts, wants to make some serious changes. The FBI found Antioch police officers were part of a group text on their personal phones that went on for years, where they would congratulate each other for hurting people during arrests and repeatedly use the N-word. The FBI found those texts during an ongoing investigation into the Antioch Police Department. Some officers were already accused of things like distributing cocaine and steroids, accepting bribes, intentionally using excessive force, and violating people's civil rights. Now, Mayor Lamar Thorpe wants the 24 officers involved to be fired. Here's the thing, that's over 20% of the Antioch Police Department, which was already understaffed. We reached out to Antioch PD tonight, but we did not hear back. The chief did tell us last night, though, that the department has already restructured its patrol division and that the city would be covered. Emotions really exploded at last night's Antioch City Council meeting about this. There was even a shouting match between the mayor and a man making public comment who wanted the mayor investigated instead of the police.
What's absolutely wrong in this city? You want to go outside?
So the mayor apologized for that moment, for losing his cool, he said. And he said that reading the texts about him was incredibly personal. So Sean Chitness is on the late shift with us tonight. Thank you for being here. So I know you talked to him this evening. You don't see that kind of thing at a city council meeting every day. He was clearly upset. What did he have to say tonight?
So the mayor says it was actually a good meeting. Obviously, we have this interesting order of events. Certainly people were emotional. They were frustrated last night. But first you start with this crazy scandal. Then you have a heated exchange. A day later, he stands by what he said.
How else do you handle racism? I mean, there are people in this country who have been hosed down with fire hoses. There are people in this country who have had dogs attack them. There are people protesting and demonstrating. There are people in this country who were spitting in their face for trying to desegregate lunch counters. And here I am standing up to one racist. There's nothing for me to regret or take back.
Antioch Mayor Lamar Thorpe standing by his actions and comments Tuesday night at a city council meeting, challenging a resident and calling that man's comments a coded form of racism as someone defending the police department.
I think it's a privilege that I have a right in this country to do that, whereas other people have lost their lives for the very thing that I did.
The mayor saying again he believes the police chief must report directly to the city council and not the city manager. Otherwise, the police department is essentially its own independent agency.
That was the most intense meeting that I've attended. There's been a few others in the past where other individuals have had to be escorted for their heckling and disrespect. But yesterday, I just felt the presence of a lot of families that needed to heal.
Patricia Granados is an Antioch resident who attended this week's city council meeting and felt the need to speak during public comment. She's lived in the city for more than 20 years. For her, it's not only seeing the accused officers removed from the department, but also a change in culture to regain her trust.
It's going to take a while. It's going to take a while until I know that all of these cops are released, relieved from their duties, stripped of their pensions.
Even the police chief expressed his disappointment in the text sent by officers.
That kind of speech is hurtful to anybody, you know, and it's divisive, and there's really no place for it in policing for sure, but just in society in general.
But challenged concerns about safety in the city with a department understaffed because of this scandal. He says they still have enough officers to protect this community. Others on the city council say they trust the process.
I have faith in Chief Ford that he will move forward with that. And I have faith that if, in fact, the chief has findings that find somebody in violation, that the chief will hold those persons accountable.
But for residents following each turn in this investigation, believing again in the police will take time.
I can say is that together as a city, we'll work to make sure that we build a police department that every segment of our community can trust.
Even the mayor said he can't promise there isn't more to come after learning about these police officer text messages.
I can't tell you what can or can't happen because this whole process has surprised me.
And so, Sarah, one more thing that came out of our conversation with the mayor, we asked him about this public defender concerned about all pending cases involving the police. Given what we're learning in these text messages, the mayor tonight not wanting to comment on that aspect of this story.
Okay, we'll have to wait to see how that shakes out. I'm sure there will be developments there. We know how all of these stakeholders feel about this. Is there any other community group that's going to do anything about this or taking any action?
Well, this is certainly an opportunity to raise awareness about some of the work that is happening in the community in Antioch. We did talk to one organization, 2 members of Reimagining Antioch, who say they want to look at public safety, say it's beyond just what police are doing, but also talk about healthcare, talk about food, talk about housing, and show how it's all connected. Here's a little bit of what they said.
There is still no social change in Antioch or Contra Costa County, even with the influx of different diversities coming into the community. It still seems like there is a web of racism at the core. And unfortunately, it's not something that has been removed as of yet.
And the strong comments that woman making, in part because she told us she moved here when she was 9 years old, and that was the first time she heard the N-word. All these years later, she's reading about that in text messages from police officers. Just some of the weight of the emotion and frustration we're talking about in this story.
Yeah, I mean, I just can't imagine that. Sean, thank you for telling us all of that.